Greetings and salutations. To my right is a true print and color geek, a technological troubleshooter, and a legend in his own little mind. My business partner, Jim Raffle.
And to my left is the darling of design, the weaver of words, the curator of color management. Allow me to present Shelby Sapusik. This is the Jim and Shelby Show, the all things color and print podcast.
And this is our pilot episode, and today I think we're going to talk a little bit about branding, because why are we calling it the Jim and Shelby Show?
Well, what actually happened was at several trade shows, but most recently the ISA show in March.
Yeah, it was in May.
In
Atlanta.
In Atlanta. After 2 years of lockdowns and everything else, it was the first major show, print show that you and I attended together.
Correct.
And we could not walk down an aisle without, hey, there's Jim and Shelby Show. Someone even said, hey, it's the Jim and Shelby Show. Right. I mean, we must have, interacted with 100 people at least.
That might be a little over the top.
Okay, close to 100. We'll go close to 100.
We certainly saw a lot of people that we haven't seen in a couple of years.
Absolutely.
So it was great to catch up with everybody.
Yeah. And so I think others branded us as the Jim and Shelby Show.
Right, and it's not something that we came up with. And we should talk a little bit about the Die Subcast, because this is following up a previous podcast that we started in January of 2021.
We recorded the pilot for that in December of 2020, right?
Yes.
And so just like this pilot, we didn't know quite where it was going to go.
Right.
It made it, 80 episodes?
Just about, yeah.
79. Yeah. And that was all audio.
Yes.
And this is obviously not.
We're upgrading.
So I had to memorize that whole intro. That was fun.
Yeah, it only took us an hour.
Something, when you do audio podcasts, you can look at your script.
Right.
And so this is something new.
But I think even when we were doing the audio, I think I could tell from our voices when we were reading the script and when we were just talking like we are now. And I like the more conversational tones.
I think that's true.
So
we something happened to us today.
Right.
That kind of got us to decide that the pilot was going to be about branding.
I think we'd already decided that because we wanted to explain why we were calling it the Jim and Shelby Show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have a huge ego. I don't. So, but that's why you get top billing.
What is she talking about?
Oh, anybody who knows you. Come on.
Well, so the Die Subcast was obviously a very narrow topic.
Right.
And over the first 8 or 9 months, it was relatively easy to find guests and get guests on the show. It became more and more difficult because it's a narrow audience, a narrow segment of the industry.
Right.
And during the early phases of that podcast, there was still a lot of, I don't want to call it lockdown, but there was still a lot of working from home, less travel, less shows, things of that nature. And so people that we wanted to have on were available. And
I think a lot of people were starting up Die Sub businesses in their homes while they were on lockdown or doing remote work. A lot of people were buying the machines and the heat presses, and so we saw an uptick in that niche market.
Absolutely.
So it made sense to do a podcast focused on that, and not that Die Sub's going away or anything, it's just that we feel like we need to be able to talk more about color and print in general. And it's going to open up the door for a lot of different guests and topics.
In fact, here's a little spoiler. Episode 2 will be about dye sublimation. So it's not going away. And it will be a part of this podcast. So if you're a dye sub listener, and we know there were many of you, come on over. We're still going to talk about that topic, but we're going to add in other things related to the print industry, whatever that may be. We'll focus on color because we are color management professionals. Yeah.
And if you're watching this and you were part of the Die Subcast or just watched, we really appreciated everybody, the guests. We had some really great guests, some great content.
We did.
And we appreciate everybody watching. There was no way we would keep doing it if we didn't have an audience.
And a bunch of those guests we hope to have back, and so
yes.
You'll actually get to meet them in a different way,
yes.
in a video format, which is different. It's very different.
And we're still planning to publish every Friday.
And, again, a little spoiler, what's cool about this format is we've already recorded episode 2, and you get to show people things. You get to hold things up and explain them. And there were so many times we wanted to do that, and there was no way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, also realize, Jim lives in Wisconsin and I live in North Carolina. So some of these, we're not going to be sitting here face to face. When we're traveling together, we'll try to record an episode or two when we're in the same spot, but we may end up doing, I guess, Zoom for some of them.
Absolutely Zoom, yeah. And this is not either of those places. This is
No.
South Carolina.
Yes.
So when possible, we will, when we're traveling together for business, we will do everything we can to record it together because I think this is a better format. We'll have a bunch of formats, and you'll get to see those. We don't even know what they all are yet, but we'll roll those out as necessary.
Yeah. So we're in Isle de Palm, South Carolina, near Charleston this week.
Yeah, working with a couple clients here.
Mm-hmm.
We created some video content both for us and for a partner today.
Yep.
And tomorrow we're working with a partner.
So since we're talking about branding, like you said, when we were walking through ISA in early May, and people were like, "It's Jim and Shelby's a Jim and Shelby show," and it just clicked with me. It's like, you know what, maybe that is our brand.
I would agree.
And we've actually used that before
Yeah.
for some online training.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in the pandemic, we did a couple episodes that was the Jim and Shelby show. So it's not brand new. We've borrowed it before, but now it's a podcast.
Absolutely, and I like it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And my name's first, so it makes it great.
Yeah, no ego. No ego at all. It's small.
So, are we going to tell the other branding story?
Yeah, I mean, so go ahead. I mean, we were.
So, talk about interesting personalities. Typically, when we are traveling together and we rent a car, I'm the driver. So this particular trip after the third rental car, we ran into some issues, was a Mustang convertible. I haven't been able to get the keys out of her hand this entire trip.
That's not true.
Well, okay, but it's almost true. And so I was the passenger, and we're just driving along, and we see.
We were coming back from
Yeah.
working with our client today. We were coming back to the resort.
And the sign on the side of the truck was "Very good appliance repair." Am I right?
Right. Very good.
Very good.
Very good.
So-
Not good. I mean, it's better than good.
So is this podcast going to be good?
Right. Well, it's going to be very good.
It's gonna be very-
But it's not going to be spectacular.
So is that average, below average, above average? How?
I don't know. I mean, it's very. I mean, obviously they know that they're better than good, but they're certainly not excellent or spectacular.
So are
They're
they
just very good?
Are they good enough to repair a Sub-Zero appliance?
That's a very good question. I don't know what their bar
Very
is.
good.
Very good.
Is there going to be comedy in this new episode?
I don't know, but every time someone says good from now on, I'm being like, well, is it good or very good?
Very good.
I mean, obviously it's not spectacular.
At least this episode so far is not stupid like our sound and light
Our
check.
sound and light check was very stupid, but we still posted it.
And if you haven't seen that, that's on social media, and that's worth going back and watching.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was fun.
So if we circle back to branding, obviously I think you can tell that neither of us thinks very good appliance repair is a particularly good.
No, it's very good.
Right. So obviously the Jim and Shelby show we let just happen. We'd already used that, right? But people started calling us that when they saw us together at a trade show. So, I'm not gonna argue with success, and that's a form of success when people recognize you and call you by a brand that you created in the last 2 years. So,
Right.
And so I don't know other brands we can talk about. Color casters. How did we come up with that?
I think I came up with it, and I wanted to focus on color because we were going to be doing color management consulting and training instead of just the software and technological side as we've been doing with color metrics. And I looked at it as color forecasting, like we could predict color, because we're always talking about predictable color, right? So I thought of color forecasting, and I came up with color casters.
Yeah, and it's worked because our focus is to help people produce consistent, predictable, and repeatable color. And a lot of our work in the last 6 to 8 months has been in the area of spot color optimization. So talk about something where you really are trying to forecast what is the output of this inkjet printer, whether it be UV, dye sub, whatever it might be, to hit a specific spot color. Think Pantones, for example. A lot of the RIPs now include the Pantone library, but that's no guarantee that you're going to hit that Pantone color within a set delta E parameter. So we've been working to help people forecast what those results are going to be on a given printer, to a given substrate. So it's turned out that I think our branding has helped put us where we need to be. So I think branding is important for more than just your customers. It's important for your own internal company, right?
Of course. And speaking of branding and spot colors, how often are we working with spot colors to try to match brands? Spot colors can be very important for brands as well.
Home Depot.
Starbucks.
Home Depot's kind of the color for sure, but not really.
No.
Pepsi, kind of the color of my shirt, but not really. Right?
Coca-Cola Red.
And so it matters, right? Sometimes I've seen it that color, and then you have a problem.
Right.
Starbucks.
I said that.
Did you say Starbucks?
I did.
Okay, I must have been thinking about something else.
No.
Maybe my ego.
Could be.
Yeah.
But-
So, do we have anything else for this episode?
No, this is
do
the
you feel
pilot.
like-
This is kind of the introduction, and you can always go back and see or listen to the Dice Upcast, diceupcast.com, if you missed any of those or you wanted to go revisit. We have yet to decide exactly where this is going to live, but we'll be sharing that soon via social media and probably email.
Well, and if you're watching this, if you'd like to be a guest, if there's someone you'd like to hear on the show, if there's a topic you'd like to learn about, you can reach out to us. There's comments, and wherever you find this, there's going to be a place you can comment. You can always email Shelby or myself, so it's shelby@colorcasters.com or jim@colorcasters.com. So, if you have ideas, we are more than open to producing shows that fulfill those ideas that you have, right?
And I think if you're working with us in a professional capacity and we're coming on site to help you with profiling or doing some color training, we may be asking you if you'd like to do
Absolutely.
a podcast,
Absolutely.
and talk about what we've been doing at your facility.
And you can always find us on social media. I'm not going to give you all the channels, but wherever you are on social media, just search for Colorcasters or Colorcasters LLC, and you will find us. Yeah, and that will post. If you want to know when these episodes are going up, we always post them there.
Yeah.
So,
So this is going to be fun, I hope.
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for the pilot episode.
See you next Friday.